Hey everybody, it's Rob. Welcome back to another episode of the Everyman Movie Review. A little bit different surroundings. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But we're here this week to talk about Joker. Thank you guys for coming back for episode 3 of the Everyman Movie Reviews. I hope you've enjoyed the last 2 weeks. I know we are starting to run on the problem where the movies are getting a little old by the time we get to the review. Last week was Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. The week before that was It. Both were at the end of their runs, which is why I'm skipping ahead of a few movies I've seen now and going directly to Joker. Episode 3 today, Joker. And then I'll go back and do reviews of a couple other movies I've seen. Downton Abbey being one of the big ones. El Camino, just now out on Netflix, which I just saw. That'll probably be the next one up. So we have a lot of exciting things going. Now, the issue that we're going to come up on is that when you're talking about movies that are still in the theater, that are still popular, that people are still going to see, you want to make sure you're not spoiling anything for anyone. So, if you look down in the comments below in the description of this video, I'm going to put some timestamps in that'll let you know just exactly what's going on and what you may or may not want to hear. Anytime there's a spoiler, I'm going to try and timestamp it so that you can listen to this entire thing without hearing anything too important. If you avoided all trailers, all media, all of that, there's probably nothing I can do for you. You're going to probably get a spoiler by listening to anything here. But then again, why are you listening to a review? Go see the movie already. Also, one more little sidebar. You'll probably note that the beautiful city of Los Angeles not behind me here tonight. I'm actually recording this from home rather than doing it from the studio. I just haven't been able to get the time and the availability of the studio to actually get in and record there. So I'm going to record this one from home. So you get to see one tiny corner of an apartment and a couch and a light behind me there. Yeah. So here you get a little peek into my home. And of course, if you want any more peeks into my life outside of the videos, the easiest way to do that is to do one of two things. One, sign up for my mailing list. You're going to find it at robertncheek.com right there on the main page. All you got to do is put your email in, click sign me up, and you're going to be one of the first ones to hear about everything that's going on, including the new episodes. I try to send out an email blast before each episode describing what it is and what we talk about. The other thing you can do is go to patreon.com, patreon.com/RobertNCheek. You can join one of the many Patreons that I have there who help support my work here, help keep these videos coming out, and are the reason that I stay up late, like I am right now, recording these videos for you. So check that out, patreon.com/RobertNCheek. Now, let's get on with the review. Anyway, let's just cut right to it and get in and discuss Joker. Well, let's get through some of the things first. If you don't know anything about this movie, I don't know what rock you have been hiding under. But the movie we're discussing today is Joker. It's in the DC universe. It has been directed by Todd Phillips. It was also written by Todd Phillips along with Scott Silver. It's starring Joaquin Phoenix, Robert De Niro, Zazie Beetz, amongst others. A pretty amazing cast all told. The scene is set in Gotham City. We are going to meet Bruce Wayne, Thomas Wayne, many members of the Wayne clan that have become kind of familiar to us in the Wayne Gotham universe, the DC universe overall. But we're also going to meet Joaquin Phoenix's character, Arthur Fleek. And he's not somebody that we've met before. New character. I was going to kick this off by saying, what can I say about Joker that hasn't been said? But, I think that there's a lot that hasn't been said. Depending on what kind of podcasts or reviews you're listening to, you're probably hearing a lot of things. And honestly, I'm going to repeat a lot of them. It's not like I have some hugely unique view on the movie. But like I said in the last couple episodes, I'm coming at it as someone who just loves film, loves going to the movies. And I'm more worried about entertainment value than I am all of the other things. The view of Arthur as he climbs the stairs or dances down the stairs, you've seen those things in the trailer, and I think that those are all things that are visually stunning, and that the director of photography, along with Todd Phillips, did an excellent job framing this movie I mean, I can't have enough compliments for the job that they did. You can't compliment Joaquin Phoenix enough for the character development, building this character out. Without giving away too much, it's not Heath Ledger's Joker. It's not Jared Leto's Joker. It's not Jack Nicholson's Joker. It's not Cesar Romero's Joker. He's found another side of this character, and it's a darker, yes, but also kind of more relatable side, a more relatable Joker. I think for those who have known me for the time, I related pretty highly to Heath Ledger's Joker. The idea of just somebody who didn't care, wanted to burn society down, like that's barking up my tree. But I think that there was... I'm just reminded right now of a meme that was going around at the time of when you're a kid, you idolize Batman, but becoming an adult realizes that Joker's making a lot of sense. That basically was how I felt coming out of The Dark Knight. You know what? This Joker guy, he's got some good ideas. Maybe we should give him a chance. Also related very highly to Bane, if that kind of tells you where my mentality was around that time. But Joaquin Phoenix took an interestingly different take on the character. I think it's an older, more mature character, and it's one that lives in the real world. And I think that's something that has been overlooked. It's been mentioned in some of the places that I've been listening, that I've been seeing, this is Gotham City, but not Gotham City. Yes, this exists in the DC universe. Yes, they talk about Gotham. They talk about, events in other places that have occurred in the DC universe, but it's not really what you've been used to. Burton's Batman was kind of this cartoonish Gotham City with, all of these little extras. And, I really don't want to even talk about the other Batman movies that came after Burton's first two. Batman Forever and Batman and Robin and, all of those just, they kind of built on what Burton's idea was, but then also tried to make them some kind of hybrid between that and the campiness of the Adam West show and, maybe even a little bit of the actual cartoons that were running at the time. I don't think that they really captured the spirit of the comic book. And that's not to say that the Gotham of Joker captures the comic book either. But I was coming up and I cut my teeth on Batman comics in the, I would say late 80s, but the truth is it's going to be the early 90s. Maybe I saw some of the older runs from the late 80s, but after the fact, back when I was in high school, and I started looking for other stuff. So really we're talking about the early to mid 90s when I was really reading a lot of comic books and into the culture of it. And even so, I think that the Gotham City I see in Joker reminds me a lot of that Gotham City, the one that I think about when I think about Gotham. There was just this underpinning in the late 80s and early 90s that kind of looked back and framed Gotham as a late 70s, early 80s kind of place frozen in time. And I think the feeling, I didn't know then because I was a poor dumb kid living in the middle of nowhere. I thought that the cities are an amazing place and a futuristic place to live, and they're not. In a lot of ways, in the mid 90s, the things were the same in the cities at that time as they were in the late 80s, and maybe even the early 80s, and maybe even the late 70s. They kind of got frozen in this little time capsule. And I think that the Gotham of Joker does such an excellent job of just showing that. We can't really place where it is. The guns seem to be around that time. The humor seems to be around that time. The clothing, everything, cars, all of that. But the mentality, now that I think about it, it's really summer of 69, but I think it's supposed to be later than that. For those of you who don't know, there's this crazy time period, the summer of 69, where just a lot of stuff was happening. There were serial killers out. National Guard was firing on college kids, and the Vietnam protests were winding up. The Weather Underground was becoming a terrorist organization, an offsplit of the Weathermen. And all of this stuff was happening all in one summer. And I feel like that is the spirit of what they've captured with Gotham in Joker. Even though it was supposed to be probably a little later on. And they did such an excellent job of doing that. Just like the society that's kind of been frozen, and people continue to live. They continue to have lives, and they continue to be impacted by the world around them, even if things just don't keep moving forward. And that's really the world I think that we walked into when we meet Arthur. And, so the Joker is famously known for being a unreliable narrator. The Killing Joke from the late 80s, which this is somewhat based on some Frank Miller comics around this, a little earlier, but around the same time. Also where this is pulling influences from. All of those things just show the Joker to be a completely unreliable narrator. And generally, he's not a narrator. He is a character in a Batman story. So it's a really interesting take to see it this way. And, I'm realizing as I'm sitting here now that I keep saying, I'm not going to get deep into the movie. But for me, all of this societal stuff is really the point. And I'll say a little spoiler alert right now. So go ahead and click down to the next marker if you haven't seen Joker yet. This is not a superhero movie. This is not a DC Universe movie. This is a movie about a guy. It's a character story about this guy, Arthur, who is unreliable in the story he's telling. He is unreliable even to himself. But the entire storyline there with Zazie Beetz about us, the viewer, thinking that this ongoing romance was happening, and then it turns out it's all in his head. I keep hitting myself and saying, if that's not true, we don't know that anything is true. Did he actually go to Wayne Manor and meet Bruce? Did he actually confront Thomas in the bathroom? Did any of the stuff we see where he seems slightly heroic or forward in any way, did any of that happen? It's easy to kind of parse out when he starts watching the I forget the name now, Robert De Niro's character's show, and he fades out and now he's on the show. Clearly, that's just him in his head. But at what point did we maybe lose reality on other parts of that? And I think most importantly, did we lose reality at the end where he becomes this a hero? There is a way that we look at this plot that says, hey, maybe when he's being chased by the cops, he got arrested and that's it. And everything that came after that was just made up in his own head. I think it's an interesting take. Let's go ahead and welcome everybody back in right now. So overall, I really do want to get back to it. It's a character story about a guy. Was it shot beautifully? Absolutely. Some of the choices that were made were exquisite. I did notice, and it was one of the talking points that once finally some of my friends had seen it, to say, did you notice when Arthur was feeling one way, the camera looked one way. When he felt stable, the camera was tripoded and very anchored and just turning and stable shots. And when he felt a little more manic, things were steady cammed, but as if the gimbal was slightly off, so it wasn't quite steady and everything was kind of moving quickly. Those kind of things really get you into the emotion of the movie. Not to be outdone by the Dark Knight trilogy. Todd Phillips's choice of a musical score was amazing, and it's the kind of thing, the best compliment you can give a musical score is that you didn't notice it all the time, and I think that is exactly how this was. The musical score kind of went all throughout, and you don't really notice it, but it's bringing that emotion out of you where you just feel it, and you want to feel it, and it can be amazing when it's that way. It was overall an amazing experience. Keep comparing it to Taxi Driver and to similar character type stories from The City, Dog Day Afternoon, those kind of movies from the late 70s. It's really funny because Corey Baker, the other host of the Oh the Anthem podcast, new episodes every Tuesday. You can catch me more on there. We talk about movies, we talk about news and sports and everything else. But one of the things he said is that he and I talk about a lot is how the guys who made those movies are the guys who are making the blockbusters now. Scorsese cut his teeth in the 70s making these kind of character-driven stories. And Todd Phillips is not cutting his teeth. He is already a known entity. He's a known quantity. And yet he is, going back and making these kind of stories. And maybe that means that there's still a place for people like Corey and myself and other young filmmakers who think that they can go out and have that kind of impact too. That they can kind of find a niche in this industry and actually, break in. I think that's the one encouraging thing. I do have a couple of thoughts I want to add in at the end, but for those of you who haven't seen the movie yet, I'm going to ask you to cut away right now. Just go down below and click the next spot where it says cut away here, and you can come back and join us later on after we get through the spoilers. Okay, now that I think everybody's gone, I have a lot of mixed emotions about the movie at the end. I mean, I'm going to give my general feeling at the very, very end, but this is a movie I want to see again. I probably will see again. I'll see it on DVD. It's going to become just like the Dark Knight trilogy, where I can just dive in at any time. It's Fight Club. It's American Psycho. I kept thinking over the past week when I was considering this review, what is it really like? And I said Dog Day Afternoon, I said Taxi Driver, but really it's American Psycho. It's how much of this was real. I don't know what to tell you. I think that we can say for certain that one moment from the end is very real. Thomas Wayne and his wife were murdered in front of their son. Their son, some years from now, is going to have to be impacted by that. Now, that brings me to the spoiler. Obviously, that's a spoiler, but kind of something that everybody knew. But the interesting thing to me is that this movie is called Joker. And that not once during it does Joaquin Phoenix's Arthur say, "Call me the Joker." It's always, "Call me Joker." Even though we know the character is always the Joker. It's always the Joker. Heath Ledger, the Joker. Jack Nicholson, the Joker. Cesar Romero, the Joker. So why is Arthur a Joker? I'm going to tell you this, spoiler city. If you haven't cut away now, cut away now. I think it's because Arthur is not the Joker. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix is a guy in his 40s who's playing a guy arguably in his mid to late 30s, maybe early 30s at best. That means that Bruce at 10, let's say he becomes Batman in his late 20s. It's 20 years away from that now. 10 years away at best. I mean, there's no way he's 10 years away. Yeah, he's got to be 20 years away. That means that Arthur, as the Joker, is in his 50s. I just don't see it. And, the Joker legend is always that he's the one who killed Batman's parents, and we saw the guy who killed his parents. We saw the guy who killed his parents. He was wearing the mask, and I think that's a rewriting of the story. I think that's a way for them to say, 10-year-old Bruce saw the Joker mask and then becomes obsessed with the Joker, the guy who killed his parents. But I don't think it's the Joker who killed his parents. I also don't think, obviously, Joker killed his parents. I think that in the end, that night, this little revolution that Arthur as Joker has caused, that just brings out something in someone else. And I think it's going to be interesting to see if they tie this in any way to the universe. I don't think that it really is, but I think that there is a vein here to make the dark DC universe, where we do a bunch of these character stories like the Joker story or Two-Face's story. I don't know, I guess Two-Face is different, but a lot of these characters come out of the pain of what happens in Gotham when Thomas Wayne dies, and it's because of Joker and this night that Thomas Wayne dies. So a lot of the villains are created because of what happens. And I think that there's this vein that you could just dive into in character stories about all of them and how they're created. But just to circle back around, really, my point is, I don't think that Arthur's the Joker. I think the Joker was created on that night. And I think that it's an homage. I think that whoever is the Joker is causing an homage to Joker, the guy who created him. It's like calling yourself Junior or the Second. You're naming yourself after somebody who is in the lineage above you, and I think that's what the Joker did. But let's go ahead and invite everybody back in so we can wrap this thing up, shall we? All right, everybody back in? Great, thank you. So thanks for sticking around. I know this is a little longer. Just this movie I've been racking my brain about for so long, and if that is not a huge compliment, if that doesn't tell you where this review is going, I don't know what else I can say. So let's just put it to this. Should you go see the Joker? Well, you may say to yourself, I don't really like comic book movies. Okay. You may say, I don't like action movies. I don't like movies with fighting. I don't like movies with violence. Well, there's a little bit of violence, but it's few and far between, and it's really motivated, even if it seems unmotivated. I do think that it's all necessary. There's nothing gratuitous here. There's no gratuitous violence or sex or anything. It's just all part of building the story. And, it doesn't matter if you don't like comic book movies because it's not a comic book movie. You don't like, like fighting. Well, there's not a lot of fighting. There's a little bit of a guy getting beat up, but that's about all. It's really just telling the story about how this one guy goes from one place to another. And, I'm not a huge fan of those, generally speaking. I feel like it's just, there's not enough that happens usually. I'm not satisfied by taking a day in the life unless a lot of exciting stuff happens in those days. But this is one example of one that I'm fully on board with. So Joker definitely gets a thumbs up. Go see it. If not because it's a fantastic movie. It's 2 hours and 2 minutes, and I felt like it was maybe 45. I couldn't get up. I didn't want to get up. I didn't check my clock. I didn't want to leave the theater. When it started getting towards the climax, and I was like starting to notice those points of the movie, like, hey, we're coming out of the middle of the second act and then toward the end. I'm like, wait, how is that possible? How long have we been here? Check it. Oh my God, we've been here for an hour and 40 minutes already. I haven't even noticed. That's my favorite kind of movie-going experience. It's like, get me in the story, get me in there, and just like bury me in with you for 2 hours. And they absolutely did. I think this is a movie for everybody. I don't think you have to like any particular thing to go see it. And I think that the people who are going to see it now show that. One of the number one movies in the country. And it's not a poppy, candy corn superhero movie. It's dark. And if you're not going to see it just because it's a fantastic movie visually and audibly and story-wise and character-wise and all of those things, go see it because we need these kind of movies. We need to get back to this. And if we can use this superhero kind of like niche to get back into that, I'm 100% for it. So go see Joker. I'm with it 100%. Absolutely do recommend. And, I saw it in IMAX. I recommend seeing it in a premium feature. If you're looking for the 3D experience or whatever, you're not going to see that. But see it on a big screen. Really go and appreciate it because it's the little things, it's the lighting, it's all of that really makes it worthwhile. But if all you've got is a regular standard 2D theater near you, go see it there. Whatever you have to do, just go see it. All right, so that's it for episode 3 of the Everyman Movie Review. Bordering a little bit on pretentious. I don't like how long we went, and I don't like how much I got into the story. But, if this was Che Guevara's biopic, you better believe it's going to be a 30-minute episode. I'm thinking about wrapping up with... I want to sit down and really dedicate some time to watch Pancho Villa as himself, which I can guarantee you if I do a review of that, it is going to be a long review because I got a lot of things to say about subject matter as well as the movie itself. So it's something I've been kicking around over the last 2 weeks after I recorded. Like, it's nice to just jump in and talk about the movie, but the reason I like those movies a lot is because of the subject matter and how that gets to me. So let me know. Should I stay away from like why the subject matter is important and what it does and a little bit of history behind it? Should I stick just to the movie itself? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment that people leave. I'm unbelievably thankful for all the likes and all the views I've had over the past few weeks. Please like this video, comment below. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel so you get the updates on the newest video. Still working on a bunch of different projects. I'm going to try and batch record a bunch of these so I can kind of put things out more regularly and more often. And while we're working on some other things coming, I got a new exciting podcast project I'm hoping. And speaking of podcast, I'm hoping that the audio is finally good on these episodes enough to put them up on podcast format. So you may be able to catch it that way as well. Look for that update. You'll be able to find that on social media. So go and check that out. But thank you again for joining me for episode 3. Before you go, do like, subscribe, leave a comment below. If you want to support the work, these videos and everything else, you can do that at patreon.com/Robert N. Cheek. That's patreon.com/Robert N. Cheek. Of course, you can find me on social media everywhere, Robert N. Cheek. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Snapchat, everywhere, Robert N. Cheek. Come find me. Make sure you check out robertncheek.com where you can sign up for my mailing list. You can find links to the political blog, YouTube right here with these videos, and the books which are available on Amazon. So please check out the books as well. I got a lot of irons in the fire, and I'm excited to share all of those ideas with you. And hey, Hollywood, if you're listening, I live here now. Somebody give me a job making some cool stuff. All right, everybody. Go out and see Joker this week. Please do not hesitate. Next episode up is going to be El Camino, something you don't even have to go out and see. It's available on Netflix. It's right there in your living room. You can borrow my password if you need to see it. Anyway, this episode's up this week. Look for the next episode sometime between now and next Thursday with another episode up next Thursday, so don't miss that. That bell will let you know when a new episode's up. Thank you guys for joining me. Have a great week, everybody.